Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dave TV here on DCRTV.com. How's this? New shirt I got yesterday. How's that? That's cool, isn't it? Picked that up at the Ranger Surplus up at Tyson's Corner yesterday. So how y'all doing, everybody? It's Sunday, the 21st of July. Oh, sorry about that. Lots of rumblings. Lots of rumblings about Dan Snyder's radio empire again. I get it every day. I get a few more emails about what's going on over there. Apparently, Dan, like some other sports team owners, is realizing that it's not a good idea to actually own your stations. No, it is if you are in a cable network, for example, like the Yankees Sports and Entertainment Network, yes, or the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network here in the Baltimore, Washington area, which is owned by Orioles owner Peter Angelos. It makes sense because cable TV networks are out there and seen by a lot of people and viable options, but radio stations are more of a trickier matter, and in a number of places around the country where sports teams have owned their radio stations, they run into some trouble. And that's one of the problems Dan Snyder is facing here in the Washington area. It's kind of like snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. You have this, one of the most profitable franchises in the NFL, Redskins, and it's in a lucrative market, upscale market, a very wealthy market. And, you think those radio rights would be a huge pile of dough, and they are. But you figure, okay, well, I'll buy my own sports station, I'll dominate the sports market, and I'll put my team on that station, and boom, it'll all just, pile up the revenue and great stuff. And that's what Dan Snyder was thinking about a decade ago or so when he bought these radio stations. Now, part of his problem is the Washington radio market is very, we're only 35 miles from Baltimore. So a lot of there should be more frequencies in this market. We should have 5 or 6 more major FM frequencies available to the DC market, but because Baltimore's only 35 miles away, we kind of have to share frequencies, or they stomp on each other. So there's about 4 or 5 frequencies here that we can't use because they're Baltimore frequencies. But if Baltimore were, say, 100 miles away, they would be available in the Washington market. So that hurts because there's a shortage of good frequencies in this market. And as anybody will tell you that owns radio stations around here or wants to, it's really, really hard to get good signals. Look at CBS here in Washington. I mean, they have 5 major FMers, and only like 2 of them are on really good signals. The other 3 are on signals that are problematic, and it's hurting their ratings. So Dan Snyder has that problem. He bought a bunch of stations, and he's got ESPN 980, WTEM, mainly on an AMer, and 2 rimshot, way outer suburban FMers. And he's battling up against CBS with another sports talker. So he hasn't been able to generate the ratings. TEM and WJFK are constantly the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th place in the ratings, both of them. Neither of them can get higher than that. And both of the sports talkers, including JFK, have signal problems. Although JFK is on a fairly good signal of 106.7 FM, which is out in the Fairfax area. Technically it's just outside the Beltway, so they do have problems covering the northeastern suburbs. But anyhow, Dan Snyder has more of a problematic problem with his signals, meaning that the AMer, which again is a dying band, and then the 2 rimshot FMers, and so it's kind of a especially at night, the AM signal drops only to 5,000 watts directional, which means a lot of the western suburbs can hardly hear it. So he bought these signals years ago for somewhere like $30 million. And the word is he'd be lucky to get 10% of the price to, you know. I mean, you take a huge loss if he sold them. So what's he going to do? I don't know. I do know. The only window of opportunity I see for Dan Snyder, I really, looking at all the options, is to make a deal with Hubbard. Hubbard owns WTOP. And I really think that's the way to go. Sell the whole lock, stock, and barrel here in Washington. That's 980 AM, 570 AM, 92.7 FM, and 94.3 FM. Those signals are Prince Frederick and Warrenton. Sell the whole batch, including, ding, 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 the Redskins radio rights for the next, say, 10 years to Hubbard. Okay? And with the stipulation that Hubbard can put those Redskins radio rights, can put them on any of their stations. Okay? That means that Hubbard then can take the Redskins and put them on WTOP. Okay? And that's good for Dan Snyder because he gets his team and the Redskins radio network on probably the best signal in town and easily the top-rated station in town and the biggest money revenue station in town. And it gives him the prestige of the Redskins being on the best station in town. And I think it's probably his best opportunity to get at least a fair price for his signals. You know, Hubbard, you know, if they want to maintain a cluster here in Washington, if they're going to stay, if they're not going to sell to CBS and, you know, transfer TOP over to CBS, that's what they really want in this market. They need to build out their cluster. And granted, building out their cluster with 980 and 92.7 and 94.3 is not great. These signals, at least it's something. You know, right now, Hubbard has WTOP, and that's about it in the Washington market. They do have Federal News Radio, which, you know, doesn't really. It's a niche station. And that's about it. I mean, the Gamut and the little Mexican station, I mean, that's what they own here. So getting ESPN 980, WTEM, even though it is a marginal station on a bunch of funky signals, at least that would give them a second major property in the Washington market. So Hubbard would win by being able to take the Redskins and put them on WTOP, further cementing that station's greatness. And it would also give Hubbard a second major station in the market with WTEM, keep sports talk on it. You know, you could maybe flip those signals around, maybe use 1500 in the mix. I don't know. You know, put one, maybe 107.7 could somehow be used in the mix. But, you know, you would at least have the intellectual property of WTEM. You could put a lot of Redskins shows on WTEM, but put the Redskins themselves on WTOP and cross-promote that. You know, and a sports talker would fit well with the news station of WTOP and the Federal News Radio talker of WFED. There you have three major talk stations. I think the more and more I look at it, the better. I think the only way out of this for Dan Snyder is that. I think Hubbard is his savior. And, you know, if Jim Farley, the VP there programming at WTOP, is up with his word saying he's going to retire at the end of the year, what better way to go out on it than snagging the Redskins for WTOP? So, you know, I think the more and more I think of it, the more and more I see that's the only way out of this. If Dan Snyder wants to get out of the radio business and at least, you know, get some of his money back, if not, I doubt Hubbard would even agree to pay $30-some million for TEM. But when you throw the Redskins rights in with it and guarantee them for 10 years, yeah, you know, and that would work. So I think that would be a way to go. Plus, that would be a way to stick it to CBS. You know, because the big rival for WTEM has been CBS's WJFK, and it would guarantee that CBS wouldn't get the Redskins in any form or fashion for a decade. And that would be a good thing for probably, you know, make Dan Snyder feel a little better, and it'd be great for Hubbard. You know, Hubbard would further cement WTOP as the top news station in the market with that little piddling WNEW down there. So the more and more I look at it, the more and more I see that's the only way out of it for Dan Snyder if he wants to sell the stations here in Washington. Interesting, I'm getting some rumblings about the Norfolk stations that Dan owns. An interesting radio deal, I think, is on the horizon down there. We'll know more about that soon, so stay tuned for that with some DC connection. So, I'm sure we'll have it. We'll have the news first, beating everybody out. Okay, let's get this quick here. I'm at the 10.5-minute mark here when I finish this by 12 or so. It's looking more and more likely that ABC will be picking up Channel 7 WJLA from Allbritton. ABC, Allbritton has 8 stations in their cluster, and JLA is the crown jewel here in Washington. They own stations like Harrisburg and Lynchburg and Little Rock and places like that. And, ABC would not really care about those other stations, but they do want WJLA and big DC here with their ABC News Bureau. That would be a great get for them. So I think there's a very likely possibility we'll see ABC pick up Channel 7, and then some other company like Sinclair or Nexstar or something like Scripps at Lynn, Meredith, somebody like that, maybe Tribune, picking up the stations in the smaller markets like the Harrisburg, Lynchburg, stuff like that. So that's what we're seeing. It looks more and more like. The problem is if Allbritton sells JLA to somebody else here in Washington, ABC apparently has a right to refuse that because they are they have a contract with Allbritton, and if they don't like the new owner, they can say no. So ABC has a right of refusal there, and ABC could pull its affiliation. And Channel 7 without the ABC affiliation would be worth a lot less money. A lot of folks are saying to me, okay, so this all happens. Who wants News Channel 8? Does ABC want News Channel 8? I don't know. Maybe they do. It's a channel. It's on 2 million. It's in 2 million homes via cable TV and direct TV. So who knows? As I said, one possibility that makes sense to me is that Allbritton keeps News Channel 8 and turns it into Politico TV and uses that as the base for a national politics channel based on the Politico. Get it up on the satellite, get it into homes, have it up there with the new Al Jazeera America and other stuff. There's Politico TV with C-SPAN and, all those other political channels. And you really, I don't know. I still think they need to take Politico franchise and put it on video and get a 24/7 channel up there for politics. So I don't know. That's what I would do, but we'll see. All right, folks, thanks for watching Dave TV for the 21st of July, Sunday. Another day where, last night we were supposed to get huge storms all week long. Huge storms on Saturday, huge storms on Saturday, huge storms on Saturday. Hype, hype, hype. Capital Weather Gang, Weather Channel. Hype, hype, hype. Big front coming through, going to kick the heat out. Huge storms. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm telling you, these weather people, guys, these in the media, the media business today, it's all hype and very little accuracy. And that's the way the weather business has always been, hasn't it? But it's no different. All this fancy schmancy stuff, fancy computers, fancy internet, fancy websites, and they still screw it up a good chunk of the time. But then again, all that matters is ratings and traffic, right? Get your ratings, get the traffic to that Capital Weather blog, dingy wing weather weenie thing at the Washington Post, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters at the end of the day. And get your bonus. Catherine Weymouth, send the bonus over to Jason Samanow, whatever. He deserves it. Whether he's right or wrong, he gets the traffic. All right, folks. Thanks for watching Dave TV. Adios, amigo.